Annette, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Wandale? He's on there. I guess you can't hear.
Here.
Commissioner Meredith?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner McCamey?
Here.
Commissioner Yeager?
Here.
Commissioner Meade?
Here.
Commissioner Scott?
Here.
Chairman Isbell? Everyone's here.
Everyone's here. Perfect attendance. Thank you. First, we'll have the prayer. I'll do the prayer, then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Meade. Please join me in the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, you are the creator of all things, and you sustain all life. I come to you, Father, ask you to preserve us from faithless fears and worldly anxiety that we as a nation, Father, are contending with. God, you're a God of healing. I pray, Father, that your will is to heal this country. One nation under you, Father, that gives thanks for the many blessings you have bestowed on this country. Father, I pray for our local government leaders, Father, to lead the way, Father, to united in faith. Father, as we lead an example. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag, either by excluding the flag in the room you're in or the one on my screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is the approval of agenda.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner, or Chairman Anderson.
Thank you. I'd like to withdraw the discussion item of the email and text distribution system for citizens. I'd just like to pull that for the time being.
Okay, that's number 9. Commissioner Meade, do you accept that?
I agree.
All right, now we need a second.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale?
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner McCamey?
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager?
Aye.
Commissioner Meade?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott?
Aye.
Chairman Isbell?
Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have appearance of citizens. There's no one available here in the courtroom. I don't know if there's someone out in the hallway. Is there anyone out there in the virtual world that would like to speak under appearance of citizens? Seeing none, next is a presentation by D.A. Clark and Melissa Miller. Ms. Miller, would you like to speak on this, please?
Yes, there we go. Well, I think as everyone knows, we sent the OCJP VOCA contract over to the law director last week, and it's been sent on to you. We're really excited. Everything that we asked for was included in the contract, and so now we're just in those final stages of getting approval from you. And we are also finalizing our lease with ORNL Federal Credit Union. So we're well on our way to being open and operational on time, and it's very exciting. I don't know if there are any questions about anything as you looked through it. I know we talked about it previously, but I think having it in
but I'm so curious about the Sentinel and I will.
So, yeah, I didn't know if anybody had any questions or concerns about anything as they were able to look at the physical copy of it.
Commissioner Yeager, your mic was lit up. Did you want to speak? Commissioner Mead?
I just wanted to note that earlier today in the purchasing committee meeting, this was approved for passage to the commission.
That's correct. General Clark, would you like to speak, say anything?
Just in general, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's always good to be with the commission or any of its subcommittees. We're really excited about this development. We think that it's going to bring much needed services to a number of groups in Anderson County that interact with our criminal justice system and make things better, not only for them, but for the entire community.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Melissa and Dave.
Go ahead, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Guys, I just wanted to ask what we're doing in the county with regards to elder abuse in the sense of homelessness. I mean, are you guys, are you doing anything about this? And the reason why I'm asking in that sense is there was an elderly person in the city of Oak Ridge that I had been keeping an eye on from a distance and didn't know which way to turn. I didn't know who to give the information to. It was obvious that this person, at least it was obvious to me that they were living out they were living in their car. And at the time, thank goodness, with the city of Oak Ridge, I told Officer Zolkowski about it. And we learned, thank goodness, I mean, I called when I did because freezing temperatures were coming up and so forth. But the officer was good enough to not only reach out to this person, but as far as I'm concerned, we saved a life. We found out that this person who was homeless was by no means of their own. There's no drug addiction. There's no dependency on alcohol. As it turns out, they're widowed. They were a veteran. And didn't know which way to go, let alone was being turned away for assistance. And they now have a roof over their head. They've got a blanket. They've got, a place to stay. They're safe. But I know that we're talking about homelessness in the county through operations and through the regular commission, but this is along the lines of what is it that your department is willing to do to offer assistance? We got a letter from General Clark not too long ago that was outlining elder abuse and such.
Well,
Sorry.
I appreciate that you were keeping an eye on this person. I actually talked to Detective Zolkowski in regards to this individual, and we were able to outline the resources that are in Anderson County, which I will admit are somewhat limited. I have reached out to someone at Veterans Affairs because that was an avenue we were talking about previously. And then after this conversation regarding this individual, I've been talking to someone in Knoxville about who we can talk to in Anderson County. So while that base was previously not covered because of your interactions with this individual, that now is. I do know I work with Torch often to help with homeless services. Sometimes we can connect to ADFAC for some of those basic needs to get them into that apartment and then work on the services that come after that. And I work with the Ministerial Association often to cover case by case things. And then recently through Oak Ridge, through a grant, there is some funding that would be able to be used specifically for elders who might need transitional housing assistance. That would be kind of discretionary as needed. But there's more that we can do, but that's kind of the start of what we look at when we are talking about an elderly person who's homeless. So,
And I appreciate that a great deal. Is there, are you going to have a division?
well, my hope is that we have services in place that would help with that. Right now, Adult Protective Services is on the steering committee, but and we have ETHRA and CREVA. So, but those are, with CREVA, there has to be a victimization, and that's often the case too with, the YWCA and their transitional housing. So that gap where there isn't a victimization, but there is a need is what we're looking at filling. And I think that's just a matter of getting in front of the right people. And I just think Anderson County is somewhat limited. So that means I'm gonna have to cast a wider net and then fill those gaps on our own. And I think that would come through maybe grant applications or figuring out if there is an agency that is willing to, come into Anderson outside from an outside county. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Yeager brought up some good questions during the about the financial note, and they answered those questions well. And I think that this program is going to be a great success, so there wouldn't be any problem if they need some extra funding 3 years from now. I'm sure that this body will probably find it from, I'm sure, the success we're going to have. Seeing no other questions, we'll move on because this is not really an action item. We'll take the vote up under under purchasing in full commission. But thank you both very much for being online with us. Mayor Frank? Mayor
Yes,
Frank, are you
Yes, I'm
ready?
here. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Okay, the first item is approval of Resolution 2101-842, authorizing an agreement with DOE for requests for payment in lieu of taxes for the 2020 tax year. I do not have in there the exact calculation. Billy is out right now, but this is the calculation will be prepared by them and put on the property assessor's letterhead, and that will be the backup for the request for payment from DOE. But the value is set at $9,083. That value is set by the Anderson County Property Assessor and the Roane County Property Assessor. And so Johnny, Mark Watson, Ron Woody, we all met, the property assessors discussed, and that value was agreed upon by all three entities. And then that calculation is broken down. You'll see in the prior agreement, there's Exhibit 1, how that's calculated. The number of acres is 11,464.16. And last year's value was 8,466. This year's value, because we're coming out of a reappraisal year, is $9,083. And then what you do is calculate the number of acres times that value per acre, and you get your appraised value. From there, your assessment, and then you multiply it times the tax rate for Anderson County in the city of Oak Ridge, which is 2.45. So that's how that calculation comes about, but I won't fill that number in. I'm telling you that that's the value that will be calculated. And it is actually a drop of about $15,000 by my calculation. But again, we'll have that on the official letterhead from Billy once he is back.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. It's Rick.
Have
This
a
is Commissioner
motion,
Meade, I second the motion.
have a motion by Commissioner Meredith, second by Commissioner Meade. Commissioner Yeager, did you want to speak? I can't see your mic. I can see your hand.
No, I was just going to make the motion, sir.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Wandell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor gave a good explanation, but we're going from 2.6, whatever that number was, down to 2.4560. She's already pointed out we're going to be going down 15,000. That's 11,000 acres, and we're talking. So last time it was $653,698.77. And we're going to take 15,000 off that. So we're going down to, 630 and some change. I was just, I'm glad everybody agreed, but I just don't know why we would be going down. We seem to go down all the time. Do we have a look at what the last 5 years were? Has it gone up any? I think it continues to go down every year.
Yes, I have my.
And this is and this money, Mayor. I mean, while you're looking, it gets split up, right, with the schools.
The schools get a constant of 470,000 or
Okay.
I'm going from memory. It may be 472, but it's approximately 470. And then the county receives the rest. And it actually over the years went up, but what happened is, or maybe it's 492, I think. So I could go back, like as an example, in 2010, the payment was $498,495. 2012, $572,553. Some of this is not just like readily at my fingertips because I put all the backup, anytime there's emails or anything in between there. 2018 was 630,556. Let's see. 2019, I think, was our high point. I don't have that in here. That must be out on an active folder because I had Leanne doing some typing there.
Does the city of Oak Ridge get the same amount of payment in Roane County, or do they get more?
Roane County's is larger because they have more acreage because of ORNL and spallation neutron source. Those are in, or the lab is all in Roane County. So they have more acreage, and then they have K25, that old site. And so they have lost some because and Commissioner Yeager can probably do a much better job of speaking to this than I can. Part of the reindustrialization is once that land at K25 was remediated and put back on the rolls, it would get transferred to Croat and then go to private businesses or and so those acres come off in terms of being able to get a request for payment because then they're privately owned or they're being held by Croat. And the reason it in real dollars went down here is due to the reappraisal. So the tax rate so some folks probably saw an increase because it has to be neutral. But in this particular case, it's taxed on farmland, which is according to that Atomic Energy Act and the original agreement, which is it's taxed on when they obtained it. And there's been a longstanding argument that, well, now it's prime industrial land or, so
So that tax assessment of 25%, that's, you're saying set in that 1955 Atomic Energy Act? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's, and
1954?
I can send you this. I'm just going from very rough memory, and every year that goes by, my memory gets worse, but it's there's some language in there. I mean, I've looked at this as we've debated it before, you know, for what are we getting fair payments? It's based on the language of that's when they got it. And I think it goes very similar to if you look at the TVA payment in lieu of. So for instance, remember when they obtained all the property in Claxton in your district? So
Right.
when I had the tax guys come in to help me understand, are we negotiating a payment in lieu of? They said, no, under, you know, the federal law, the only time there's any kind of negotiation for taking that property is if you're in a reappraisal year and the tax rate was, say, $2.50 in 1 year, and then it went to $2.85 the next year. We might negotiate those 2 years and get you know, an average. But otherwise, from here until eternity, they're going to pay a payment in lieu of for that Claxton property at the tax rate and the value. I mean, at the value that it was at the time they obtained it and converted it to their use.
Again, and Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time to talk about it and Mayor updating. I'd like to at some point, you know, maybe have a meeting and talk about it a little more, because in agreement, we agree to not go after the contractors. And when I say go after, I'm just saying we agree not to tax the contractors with this agreement. And I think that's where we're losing additional monies. And you know, I just think it's something, and I know you look at it, Mayor, I'm not putting this on you or saying it's your fault, but I would like for us to revisit this. I'm going to support this one, but I think next year I'll make a note in the calendar. Maybe we can, when you start having some of these discussions with Roane County and City of Oak Ridge, I want to see Anderson County get more money. I mean, 11,000 acres and they only pay, you know, $638,000. To me, that's not fair at all. When our people pay their fair share of taxes, I think we should start getting more money. And if we're not going to get more money from DOE in that regard, then we should open up the opportunity to tax those subcontractors on all the projects there. That's just my opinion. I
Right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and you know, before I will, if we pass this tonight, I will look into making sure I can talk to Jay about this as well, and City of Oak Ridge and Roane County. We do tax, so like real property, but we have, I mean, personal, so like equipment. And so we have one particular entity that I do know the property assessor is actually engaging in an appeals process, and they're fighting Anderson County on the taxation. They're saying that they're on government land and they aren't subject. And so I will make sure before we execute any agreement that that's not impacted by this resolution. My understanding is this is only about, you know, the property tax. And so I will follow up on that before our Tuesday meeting next week.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Meade.
I want to put out, though, that the primary reason that the amount's gone down is because this darn county commission lowered the tax rate since the last time.
Any other, Commissioner Yeager?
Thank you. What, I know this is probably off the top of your head too, but I imagine Roane County is shedding land faster than Anderson County.
Yes.
What's our number of acres change been over the years? I know
Um,
we're at 11.4 right now, but what, do you have any idea? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
I don't think, I really don't know, Commissioner Yeager. Since I've been here, let's see, I probably sent my first request for payment as mayor in 2013. And to my recollection, the only change we had was 1 year. But there might have been a couple others, but I can get that answer for you pretty quickly in my binder there. So I'll go back and look at the prior billings and it'll show the acreage change each year.
I imagine it has been pretty steady. I was just curious. Thanks.
Mayor, one question I'd have, do you know what the tax rate that Roane County is using?
I haven't seen, I don't normally look at theirs. My understanding is it's supposed to be the Roane County inside by agreement. It's our counties, Roane and Anderson, inside the city of Oak Ridge tax rate.
Okay, I understand. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandell,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Kamey,
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager,
Aye.
Commissioner Mead,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Chairman Isbell.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Mayor, you're still up.
Okay, the next item in your agenda packet, you will see that CTAS and Kim also brought this to my attention. Well, I guess Robbie sent it out as well. And Kim also shared with County Commission last month, just as a note, that the federal provisions of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act were going to expire. And CTAS sent out a note that the county can continue to provide paid leave to employees in accordance with formally adopted policies. And so I talked to Kim and Robbie about, perhaps just go ahead and do an extension, but with County Commission looking at this either monthly or, at the latest, March 31st. And that way Commission keeps a handle on it and, continues the extension based on what's going on and case count in the community and what we're dealing with. The particular motion, and Kim is online, and I believe Robbie was joining us too. Yes, he's there as well. So feel free to ask them any questions. But the language we were looking at would be just to amend. You all back in April passed and approved a planned response to the coronavirus pandemic for county employees. And so the language that we are talking about inserting would be specifically due to the expiration of the FFCRA emergency leave, Anderson County has decided to extend our emergency sick leave guidelines effective January 1, 2021. This extension will be reviewed on a monthly basis or through March 31st, 2021, at which time it will be reconsidered by the legislative body. The emergency leave hours will remain at 80. If you have already used a portion of the leave, your remaining balance will simply carry over into 2021. And so this is just an extension. It's not an additional 80 past the federal expiration of December 31st. It's just extending the eligibility. So, we know a lot of folks, for instance, weren't impacted in July, But in December and January, a lot have been impacted. And so this would make those that are impacted eligible for that same 80, if that makes sense.
Commissioner Meade.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that we have a county policy that requires people to stay home during certain periods of our coronavirus policy. And it wouldn't seem right to not extend this when we're actually ordering these people to stay home because of health concerns. Somehow to not extend this would seem totally inappropriate to me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner McCamey.
I'll make a motion to extend it or recommend the county commission that we extend it through March 31st.
This is Commissioner Meade. I second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner McCamey, a second by Commissioner Meade. Discussion. We've got somebody else.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I can distribute some suggested language from Kim. It literally reads what I just said, and then it also spells out, specifically, so since the federal program expired, it specifically spells out who it applies to, and so I can read that so that it's in the record here. Emergency sick leave applies to Anderson County regular, active, full-time, and part-time employees for any of the following reasons. 1, quarantine isolation order when the employee is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine, or isolation ordered related to COVID-19. 2, self-quarantine when the employee has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to concerns related to COVID-19. 3, COVID-19 symptoms when the employee is experiencing symptoms such as a fever, dry cough, shortness of breath, or other COVID-19 symptoms recognized by the U.S. CDC and is seeking a medical diagnosis. 4, care for others when an employee is caring for an individual who is subject to a quarantine or isolation order, or whose healthcare provider has advised the individual to self-quarantine due to concerns related to COVID-19. And 5, school childcare closure when the employee is caring for a son or daughter because the school or childcare provider has been closed or the childcare provider is unavailable due to COVID-19 precautions. When an employee is quarantined for numbers 1 through 3, the employee may receive paid emergency sick leave at the employee's average regular rate of pay. This amount, however, is capped at 80 hours and is not to exceed $511 per day. When an employee is absent from work to care for others or because of childcare obligations, numbers 4 through 5, ESL will be paid at 2/3 of the employee's average regular rate and is capped at $200 per day, not to exceed 80 hours. Employees who have exhausted the 80-hour limit may use other leave options if necessary, including vacation leave, sick leave, or personal leave. And I have also spoken with some other mayors in other counties who are also extending this, just for your information, and they're doing it through March as well.
Okay. Any other discussion? Commissioner Yeager.
I know Kim's on the line. Can you give us a count of how many people are in this 1 through 5 list that the mayor just mentioned that we've had already?
I think there was actually 7 or 8 originally on the FFCRA leave form, but all except for 1 that I can recall fit the 1 through 5.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Wandale,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner McCamey,
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager,
Aye.
Commissioner Meade,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Chairman Isbell.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Next, we have, thank you, Mayor. Next, we have discussion of closing the county buildings deferred from County Commission December meeting. Commissioner Yeager.
Yeah, I had asked the mayor to give us an update on the one entrance status. I've forgotten to bring that back up. Do you have something for me there?
Yes, sir. Catherine Ajmeri posted the bid. We did have one final meeting with the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Owen, to go over some of the final details or final questions that the architects had. They have all the construction documents completed and everything ready for Catherine. So that has been posted. There will be a pre-bid meeting for any potential bidders, contractors. That will take place on January 20th at 2 p.m. And then the deadline for bid submission is February the 3rd at 2 p.m. So at that point in time, we will open the bids and review those and then award a contract.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? I know we got a letter from Judge Layton. I think it's in everybody's packet there. I've been contacted by Jeff Cole, and I'm sure that some of the other commissioners have, so I'll open the floor up for discussion. Commissioner Denenberg brought this up too. I don't know if she's online. I can't see everybody on there. If she wants to speak. Commissioner Meade, your mic is lit up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm opposed to closing off the county to all our citizens, among a couple of reasons. One, the Veteran Service Office, I consider that an essential service. It's only a couple of people, and they devise ways to make sure they have proper separation when people do come in. Also, state and even some federal laws require the courts to be made available to people that have issues that are time sensitive, things like bail hearings, and there's all kinds of things. Some of that was mentioned in Judge Layton's letter. I think there's nothing wrong with having strict controls and taking temperatures and hand sanitizer and face coverings, all that stuff that they want to require if they do. But I'm really opposed to closing off what I consider an essential service, that's Anderson County government, to the people of the county. Thank you.
Any other discussion before we move on? Okay, this becomes a non-action item coming up for full commission. So I don't see anybody else wanting to discuss it, so we'll move on to number 7. I'm sorry, number 8. Resolutions from Campbell County requested by Chairman Anderson. And the first is hotel motel tax, and Tourism Commissioner Stephanie Wells is online, and I think she wants to speak on that.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me. This is the first time, I think first or second time I've had to do this virtually, so this is really strange. But anywho, I think Jeff Cole might also be either there or online. But I want to give you just a little bit of background information about this resolution. Last year, our legislators passed a law that will require the state to collect the hotel motel tax from short-term rentals. That's anyone staying in a house, a campground, a condo, anything of that nature, for less than 30 days. If that lodging facility is listed on what they call a marketplace, and that is a website like Vacation Rental by Honor, VRBO, Airbnb. There's another one that we work with here in Anderson County called Vacasa. So basically, it's a vendor who has short-term rentals listed from all over the place. I mean, if any of y'all, use VRBO, they're everywhere. So what the state is going to do is collect the hotel motel tax for all 95 counties and all the cities in those counties from the business, from VRBO, from the marketplace, and then distribute it out to the counties. Now, our county is a little bit different. All counties are different in the way that they collect the tax. The city of Oak Ridge collects tax on the city of Oak Ridge. Anderson County collects tax on everything outside of Oak Ridge and the city of Rocky Top. The city of Rocky Top collects tax in their city. And then the city of Clinton has a tax on top of our tax on anything within the city of Clinton limits. Okay. Now this resolution generated from Campbell County, and they're asking us to look at it. In Campbell County, you have, I believe, 3 cities that are collecting the tax in their cities: Carabola, Follett, Jellicoe, and then you have the county that's collecting the tax. So Campbell County government doesn't collect tax on any hotels. It's all marinas, VRBOs, things of that nature. So they're not collecting the tax from any hotels. But this resolution is asking that the state also start collecting the tax on all the hotels. And one of the reasons with Campbell County, they struggle with collecting their tax. Again, like I said, they have a lot of marinas that rent houseboats and cabins and condos, and they have a lot of other individuals that are renting that are not listing through a marketplace. So they were approached by an individual company that wanted to collect their tax for them. And so they said, well, we don't really want to do that. We would rather the state do it and forward the money to us. They won't have to pay a fee. And so that's where this resolution is coming from. I've talked with Jeff Cole, and, our concern at this point in time, Jeff does a great job. Our clerk does a great job of tracking down who's paying, who's not paying. They keep track of it. We assist them in locating, individuals. And I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to see a lot more money coming in with the state collecting the from VRBO. But I'm hesitant to give the state everything. And with our revenue, we have about 70% of our revenue comes from the hotels at the interstate. The other 30% comes from about 40 different short-term rentals. So my concern is if somehow, some way that tax is not, lodged correctly or distributed correctly, then we could really see a shortfall in our revenue. So what I would like to see happen is let's let the state start collecting the VRBO, and let's see how that goes before we give them everything. Again, like I said, I think in the end of all of this, it might be better. And I think, Jeff and I have talked about it, and if he's there, he can speak up and confirm or deny what I'm saying. But, I think that in the long run, it might be better that the state collects it and distributes it, because they have a little bit more leverage if you have someone that's not paying than the county does. But my concern is, let's not give them everything at one time. And again, years ago, the state didn't even want to do it. So I'm not sure where they stand. But that's kind of my recommendation at this point. And Jeff is there if he has any concerns or anything he'd like to express, or anybody any questions.
And this is resolution number 2020-10-19, requesting the Tennessee Department of Revenue to collect all hotel motel taxes. Commissioner Meade?
Now, the question I have is, in the past, when the state has collected a tax, they then take some kind of levy on the money they collect before we get it, like the sales tax. Is that going to happen with this as well?
Right now, this is not legislation. What we're talking about now is not written, but the legislation they just passed to collect it from the marketplace, yes, I think it is. If you look at the legislation, it's 0.01% or 1%. I can pull that up and look at it again. I had that printed off here, but it's less than 1%. But yes, they will collect a fee off the top.
Well, I know that with some of the taxes that they take out in order to process things is substantially more money than what it costs for them to do it now that we become computerized. There's been some discussions with the sales tax fees and stuff that they've done that they're making millions in excess of what it costs them. I just think I think it'd be a good idea to, before the commission meeting, to try to be sure we know exactly what that assessment would be. Thanks.
And again, it would be, it would be legislation that would be written at this point in time because it does not cover the hotels. It just covers the legislation for the short-term rentals is already passed. It's already become law. So it would just be, that additional hotels. And, there are individuals out there that are not listed on a marketplace like the marinas. It's not a big deal in Anderson County because we have 2 marinas and right now, I think they have a couple of condos and a house. But in Campbell County, it's a huge deal. They have, there's 20 marinas on the lake and they probably have more than half of them. And so it's a huge deal for them. But again, every county is not the same. We don't all collect it the same. Some counties, the trustee collects it. Some counties, the clerks collect it. Some counties, it all goes to the county. Some counties, it goes to the cities and the counties don't get anything. So, it's very unique tax that's not standard across the state. And so there's a lot of room for error on how it is collected and how it is distributed. And, like I said, in Anderson County, Jeff does a great job and we assist him on keeping, an eye on who we should be collecting from. I mean, me and my staff go on VRBO once a quarter and Airbnb and locate these people. Are they still listed? Are they off? So some of that we won't have to do anymore, but we do, we consider if you're advertising your place as a lodging facility, then you should be collecting the tax. And, this is something that they tax the user and pass it through. So if they're not doing that correctly, we do try to track that down. And like I said, Jeff does a great job, but there's some counties that don't have the resources to do that. And that's where this is kind of coming from.
Commissioner Meredith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we just defer this down to the fall, say it'd be October. Let's give it a chance and see how they collect that. And if we have to, we will. But Jeff does a good job collecting. I agree with Stephanie, so that's my motion.
Okay. We have a motion to defer. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Mead, I second the motion.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner Mead. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner McCamey,
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager,
Aye.
Commissioner Mead,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Chairman Isbell.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Next is the PCUD board members discussion. This is something else from Campbell County. A request from Campbell County Board of Commissioners increased the number of members to serve on the Powell Clinch Utility Board. They're asking to go from 3 to 5. Chairman Anderson, do you want to take over on this or do you want me to continue to read it?
I think since Mayor Frank makes those appointments for us, I'll just defer to her if she wants to discuss it.
Okay.
I'm not really certain what the thinking is of the Campbell County Commission, so I'm not sure. I think, and perhaps Commissioner Wandale might have some more insight into that. I think they were feeling like they did not have enough representation I did reach out when I first heard about this over the summer. I reached out to Powell Clinch to see what the population makeup is for the utility district to see, because there are 2 Anderson County appointments and then 1 Campbell County appointment. And so from an email back in August, Mr. Neal, who was the head, he gave me the breakdown. So currently there are 16, well, let me see here. Currently we have 16,000 customers, 5,700 are in Campbell County. The vast majority of the remainder are in Anderson County. We do have some customers on the fringes of our system, for instance, Knox, Morgan, Roan, and Union. The number in Knox County is less than 300, and the others are minimal as well. Based on the 5,700 customers in Campbell County, that is 36%. So if you look at that in terms of representation on the board, having 1 Campbell and 2 Anderson is a fair representation. It would just be, up to you all if you think it's beneficial to grow the board. I don't know that it necessarily improves the representation goals, but those are my thoughts on it.
Mayor, how does the board feel? How does Rob feel about that? Is he in favor of that, or are they comfortable the way that it is, or do you know?
Well, I don't want to speak for all the individual members. I think this requires a change in the law, or a private act. And my understanding is that the state already made changes years ago. I don't believe that the statewide organization is for this. I think I have an email from one of the members I'll try to pull up. To me, I just think it's kind of, I didn't know, none of them have reached out to me being in favor of it. I'll just say that. And let me see if I can't find. My email's slow. I apologize. If you have something else to talk about, I'll look for it so you're not all waiting for me.
I've been to several of their meetings, and I think they're very efficient from what I have experienced personally with the number that they have on there as well. They have a full-time attorney there, or, attorney on that board as well, or there to talk them through everything. So
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Commissioner McCamey.
was Powell Clinch established under a private act?
I'm looking here under this resolution to see what it says. It just says it's a natural gas utility for the citizens of Anderson, Campbell County. It was established in 1959. It has significantly grown to serve 17,000 customers across 2 counties with 800 miles of gas main line.
Yeah, I've read that, but generally when they use population brackets, that they do that with a private act, which it's state law, but it also, it only applies to 1 or 2 counties. And since these population brackets were in there when they were established in 1959, that would lead me to believe that it was a private act. But our fireworks resolution, it references a private act that was established back in 1947, and it's still in effect, even though the population has changed. It was the population at that time. So really the population being, with Campbell County, 39,000 and and Anderson County 76,000 really doesn't have any effect on that law.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, I was going to go to you next, Commissioner Meredith, for your input. Go ahead.
thank you. If I'm not mistaken, I think all those gas companies fall under the Electric Cooperative Act, which, golly, that probably goes back to the 50s, under the old Public Service Commission. And there is population designations in that, as Commissioner McCamey said, but I really think that's where that spars out all the smaller electric cooperatives. I think the gas companies are under that same statute.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Jay.
both our commissioners are somewhat right. It's a general law of local application. If you see the population bracket there, it's not necessarily a private act, but Commissioner Meredith is right about the utility commission, how those were formed back in the 50s. But they can be amended if that's your ultimate question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Wandale, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you and Chairman Anderson for bringing this up at the request of Campbell County. Mayor, you made a comment, and if I understood correctly, let me know. But I think you said that you haven't been contacted by any of the current board members in support of this change. Would that include the one member from Campbell County?
That's correct. I mean, they haven't, they've not said one way or the other. Rob alerted me to the discussion, and I did reach out to Mayor Morton to ask, and this has been back in August. I asked for, you know, what is this something that the commission is wanting? Was it a presentation that came from someone else? And he did not know. He just filled me in on what the desire was, which was to increase representation for Campbell County. And so at that point, after reaching out to EL, I shot an email to Mr. Neal, and I said, I reached out to EL to discuss the details, and I asked about the population. And then that's when Mr. Neal gave me the population breakup. Because I mean, I want to be fair to Campbell County. If they're not getting proper representation, then it might be worth pursuing. But it looks to me like if they're at 36%, then that fits the population ratio.
Well, I'm open to if the committee here would want to send it to legislative, but if we don't need to, I'll support that too. I just was asked to put it on the table, and again, I appreciate Chairman Anderson bringing it up. You know, I didn't understand the breakdown of the population either. I don't know if we're still falling in the statute of Tennessee State Law 7-82-602 section. And again, if it goes back to the 40s, I mean, Tennessee, we kind of have a lot of laws that go back to the 40s, and like the mineral severance tax, you know, that never moves. So just because it was good back then doesn't mean it's good for the rest of life, but sometimes it favors certain people. So sometimes things don't change, but I'm open, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to sit back, and there's no action, and I guess we'll just move on, but I'm happy also to forward it. But if the body doesn't want to and we're comfortable, we'll just table it and move on. Thank you.
Commissioner Meade, as chairman of legislative body or committee, what would you want to do? Would you want to take it up, or do you just want to table it for 30 days? And
Well, we have a meeting scheduled for next coming up. And so we could talk about it at that meeting. And anyone that has information, I invite them to please provide it to me or to come to the meeting. I think there are some questions that need to be answered before we move ahead with this, though.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if it's okay to defer it to the legislative committee.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second by, we'll give that one to Commissioner Scott. Any other
Thank you.
discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCamey,
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager,
Aye.
Commissioner Mead,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Chairman Isbell.
Aye, motion passes unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner McCamey.
if it would be possible prior to that meeting, I don't know if the mayor would be able to do it but if we had some indication as to what other counties, what their membership for gas or other utilities might be, to compare it to. I mean, if they've got 3 for Campbell and Anderson County, then, what does Knox County have? Do they have according to population or, how's theirs? But I'd just like to know what some of the other counties around, especially counties that are relative to Anderson County or in the same population bracket as Anderson County.
Okay, she gave the thumbs up. Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. I'll see if I can find that information.
I look forward to getting that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the COVID-19 update. And what we have, of course, we've got another little PowerPoint. And now this is the information that the mayor does really well. She gets this information from the state. She puts it on her Facebook. That's a good way to get, all this stuff that we're talking about now out there as well. But this is what Turner sent out today. So we could talk about this. And it'll be, I think we'll send that out in everybody's email so you can have it to go over with. And it's the fact sheet for the recipients and caregivers. And it's about the vaccine and how it works. And this is the Pfizer. It's administered as a 2-dose series, 3 weeks apart into the muscle. The Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine may not protect everyone. The fact sheet may have been updated. For the most recent fact sheet, please see www.cvdvaccine.com. As for the people at home that everybody's concerned with this. And it talks about what you need to know about what to do before you get the vaccine. It'll tell you what is the vaccine. And let's see, what should you mention to your vaccine provider before you get the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine? It says, tell the vaccination provider about all your medical conditions, including if you have any allergies, have a fever, have a bleeding disorder, or on a blood thinner, are immune compromised, or on a medicine that affects your immune system, or pregnant or plan to become pregnant, or breastfeeding, have received another COVID-19 vaccine. Now, a question that I just saw on there is about a blood thinner, which is blood pressure medicine. That's something I'm going to look into too, because I know a lot of people that may have that question there. And it talks about how it's given as an injection into the muscle. Scrolling up a little bit, it tells about the days apart. All right, and let's see. Who should get the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine? Now, this is the difference between the Moderna and the Pfizer. And it says FDA has authorized emergency use of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine in individuals 16 years of age and older I think the Moderna says 18, and we'll go over that. And it says who should not get the vaccine. If you had a severe allergic reaction after a previous dose of this vaccine, has a severe allergic reaction to any ingredient of this vaccine. And it tells what all the ingredients are. And it says if you receive one dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, you should receive a second dose of this same vaccine 3 weeks later to complete the vaccination series. Now we're going over to the Moderna. And it's basically about, it's got different ingredients. And it tells you there, let's see, this dose, the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is administered as a 2-dose series 1 month apart into the muscle. It says the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine may not protect everyone. And the fact sheet for this is www.modernatx.com/COVID-19 vaccine-era. Okay, going up. And this is, it tells you on both of these that these are not approved. Scroll back down a little bit. Go back the other way. All right, hold up. This is an emergency use authorization, EUA. Go ahead. All right, going up. And it talks about the same things about whether what you should mention to your vaccination provider and who should get the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. It says FDA has authorized emergency use of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine in individuals 18 years of age and older. Okay, going up. It talks about the ingredients, talks about how it's given. It's given in 2 doses, given 1 month apart. And then talking to Mr. Turner earlier to see what we're giving out. Currently, we're using Pfizer. He says we gave Moderna in the beginning, but we're transitioning to Pfizer. We will get Moderna only to complete the Moderna second doses. Okay, now let's go on up to the other screen. Yeah, the one that just a little bit you have to blow up. I don't know if you can see that on the home screen. I'm having a hard time seeing it from here. And currently, from what he said today, we're still in the 1A. In other words, it's a 75 plus because we don't have the vaccine available to be given it. And I think there's part of that email there that talks about how they're doing. Do you have that? Okay, let's give them a second there to somebody at home may want to write that down. Mayor, do you have his email that he sent out today?
I do. It's just locating it in my stack of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I think important for the people out there is, and this is that phone number, one that says, if you have any questions, contact the East Region COVID-19 vaccine information, 865-549-5343.
That's good, Commissioner Mead. You're right.
And I have the email, Chairman Isabel. What did you want me to read from that email?
Okay, you know, where it talks about where currently vaccinating 1A, 1A2 is 75 and older.
Yes, sir.
Would you mind reading that?
So our current testing is Monday through Friday, with Monday, Wednesday, Friday, self-test by appointment and drive-through Tuesday and Thursday. Current hours for drive-through for tomorrow, that's Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. This changes to 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Thursday. January 14th will be on Thursday, January 14th, and will be Tuesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Drive-through testing time is subject to change. They are updating their times on their digital sign that's out front of the health department and as quickly as they can on the website. The self-test is completed in your car and given to health department staff to mail. In order to be eligible for the self-test, you must be 18 and have an internet connection and an email address. Then they are using the Sign Up Genius that came out today. And that information is getting put on the county's website as well, although the state wants us to drive everyone to the state health site for the information. But the Sign Up Genius is customized for Anderson County, even though it is a state, it's being operated, that reservation system is being operated through the state. And then something else, I mean, the state has, this has rolled out so quickly that there was a lot of log jams on the communication, a lot of the phone would ring and people would think that it's not being answered because it wasn't, but there were actually people that were answering. They just could not handle the volume. So that's why they're going to this online. I think they already have, Chairman Isabel, you may have seen at the bottom of that email. Well, if you go to the state website, it will show you, if you go to register, it will show you how many people are already enrolled with a reservation in Anderson County. Then if you go to that state website, it also, if you'll go to all the vaccine section, it has all kinds of resources and information there. It'll pull up a map for the state of Tennessee. You can see how Anderson County is doing. So for instance, through today, 2.99% of our population has been vaccinated. From the first administration of vaccines on December 17th, there's 0.12 in Anderson County that have gone back now and starting to get that second dose. And then I will let you commissioners know that on the TEMA calls that are held Tuesday and Thursday, there has been a lot of feedback on the calls and the communication. And, a lot of this is a lot of frustration that's kind of centering around the fact that there isn't vaccine, there's more demand for it. However, the state wants to do a better job on the communication side and getting those appointments made. So they're using the Sign Up Genius, but they did talk to us that they're also working on moving to another platform. I think they were discussing using Microsoft. So they're continuing to work on this, and it may change. It may be a different platform, but they're trying to get better and do a better job of getting those reservations in.
Well, I think, we, of course, where they call in to WYSH, a lot of complaints about people calling and, they don't get answered. And then from what Mr. Turner was talking about, is going to that Sign Up Genius. And of course, we've got that website here on this email. But I think maybe if we could get Channel 95 to put something, get Andy to put something together on this, you know, where they could air it more, because some of the more elderly generation, you know, that don't have the ability to sign up using this link, what can we do for them?
And the state has actually, in our calls and, you know, whatever call it is, they're acknowledging that that is an issue. I even suggested on one of the TEMA calls, I suggested myself, knowing what a resource the senior centers are and the Office on Aging are, you know, they're all closed because that's your vulnerable population. And my suggestion to them was they already have the client information, they already have their contact information. And can we figure out a way to activate the Office on Aging's to do vaccine outreach? And because, as you said, Mr. Chairman, a lot of the older folks don't have that ability. And so they are working on that. In fact, on our call on the 7th, they actually put that in the call notes that they were working on those logistics to be able to do the direct outreach for that population. And then one of the other things that they're going to be rolling out is once they get past the need for allocation for the long-term care facilities, because if you look where the cluster outbreaks are, and if you look where the hospitalizations and unfortunately a lot of the mortality is in these, you know, it's in the assisted living facilities, nursing homes. Once they get past that priority allocation, then you're going to see them come out with distribution in the community in places such as Walmart and other places across communities, not just the health department. So that's going to be a next stage of rollout as well.
Okay. But, you know, if anybody's got any ideas to how we can get this out to help, you know, the elderly population of Anderson County, you know, let's do it. Commissioner Wandell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the mayor and Mr. Turner for getting all this information. It's been very, very helpful. You are on the same page as me. I would like to see us put all of this information, if we could, this PowerPoint, that one slide you had up for sure on Channel 95. I understand it's got to go through the state and not trying to go around them in any way, but I think if we could have it on Channel 95, that a lot of our elderly don't always use the internet, as we all know, but their kids and children, grandchildren, they all can kind of help the seniors work their way around and get them set up to get these tests. So a lot of good information. I appreciate it. I don't know if I need to make a motion to put it on Channel 95. If I do, I'll do it. But, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, let's do that so we show the support of the full commission.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to place COVID information that relates to the hours of operation for Anderson County testing and vaccines, along with the state information for the vaccine to be given and signed up for, and all other pertinent information on Channel 95.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Meade?
We can go ahead and vote. I have something else related to COVID-19 I want to discuss before we end.
Okay. All right. We'll get this out to WYSH too. That's okay with you, Commissioner Wandell?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. The mayor may or may not know, but what would it cost, do you think, for us to send out a postcard to the residences that tell people, you know, give them the website, but to give them the phone number, some sort of reassurance that we're actually working on this, or that something is happening. And give them, just some sort of direction. Use it as a reference guide, not, if you're going to get, not telling anybody that they have to get a shot, but there's got to be a way to get the word out more. A lot of people don't get the newspapers anymore. And as you can tell, a lot of them don't watch the meetings. Putting it on Channel 95 is a great idea, and I'm all for it. However, I don't watch much television as it is. I have been as of late because I'm stuck at the house for the most part. But there's got to be another avenue to get our information out to our residents. Because a lot of people are watching what's going on in Knox County and assuming that we're on the same playing field.
Right. I guess I can definitely look into it. I would think the only logistical challenge would be, we could definitely fund that. It would be a worthy expense in my opinion. But I guess the only challenges would be, where do we get that list, the contact list? In the short term, I know I have a meeting tomorrow. I can definitely bring up this as a concern and share with them that the county commission, is asking for more direct contact with the citizens. And I don't know if that can be done through, one of the issues is the state does run all of this. So, you don't see Charles, for instance, out having his daily press conferences or something like that because he's really restricted because it's going through that state pipeline and he has to get approval through that state pipeline. And it's because they're trying to make sure that all the message is consistent. And, that's why I encourage people to go to that state website. It really is a good website and they continually update it and change it and they try to make it more user-friendly. But in this day and age, there are still a lot of people that do not have the ability to go to a website. So I will raise this with the state and see if there's something that they're planning on doing in terms of what you're talking about, Commissioner Scott. And then if not, I'll see if there is some way that we can get that data or that information and maybe partner with the state on such a postcard, if you would like.
Yeah, even if it was, just some sort of a postcard that went to the box holder or, that sort of a thing. If I can get a coupon about every week for flipping Burger King, and stuck in my mailbox at the house and the P.O. box, there's got to be a way to be able to reach out to everybody. Like I said, something that's, more of a reference guide even, not that we have an answer or to call a county commissioner or reach out to the mayor's office, but here's a phone number, here's a website, and that there is a schedule out there. There's something that this, if it is that the state's doing it, let them know. Because like I said, a lot of people are just assuming that, we're on the same schedule as Knox County because of the local news. When in actual fact, we're not. So I appreciate it.
Mayor, I think one of the other things we can do too is I know Main Street, we get daily calls with updates, for what's going on in church and all that. So maybe if we could get some of this information out to the churches so when they do their automatic calls, because we've got a lot of elderly, that go to churches. So then that way they feel safe if they reach out to the pastor or somebody there at the church to help them with that.
That's an excellent idea.
Okay. Any other discussion? Commissioner Meade?
Other thing I wanted to ask about is I've heard that there's been problems around the country with the vaccine suppliers, people actually giving the shots, but that vaccine has to be maintained at like dry ice temperatures, you know, several hundred degrees below zero, or thereabouts.
That's the Pfizer.
Yeah, okay. And if that's defrosted and brought to temperature that it can be used, it has to be used that day or it has to be discarded. There's been people around the country asking for guidance. Do we have any guidance from the state about how these places should handle that? I would hope it says people from the next category can be notified and have to come in to use this stuff up so it doesn't get thrown away. Thanks.
I think that may be, and I'll ask Mr. Turner about that tomorrow, but that may be part of the reason why we're having such a shortage is they're trying to figure out how they can deal with that. I know some of the other states, what I've seen is where, you know, they've been giving shots to people that wasn't on the list, like the hospitals or stuff. But what it is the people that don't show up for their appointment, instead of wasting that, they're going to give it to somebody else. And of course, I can understand why they're doing that. But I'll ask Mr. Turner that question. And hopefully have something more from him, you know, in our full commission meeting.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
One more thing, Mr. Chairman, something real quickly. There are many hospitals around the state that are doing, and this is not something that I've done a lot of study on, but one of the things that in some of the meetings I've asked the governor's folks about, are we looking, you know, are we devoting resources and time to looking at other treatments as well? And for those that get a positive diagnosis, you know, what can we do to do a better job intervening or treating? And there is a monoclonal antibody process, and then there are several, and I haven't put this up on the county website, but I can add that to what Commissioner Wandell is wanting to do with the Channel 95. We can put the list of hospitals in East Tennessee that are providing that, but apparently it's improving outcomes for those who do get a positive diagnosis, and the state is emphasizing that as a treatment.
Good idea. Mr. Wandell?
Oh, no, I was just saying, great idea, yeah.
Anything else? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandell,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCamey,
Aye.
Commissioner Yeager,
Aye.
Commissioner Mead,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Chairman Isbell.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. We all know people that's been affected, that's passed away. We've got one of our own, Billy Brown, that I'm asking prayers for. So, yeah, just remember him and his prayers. You know, he's and we have many people throughout Anderson County. Just remember all those, please. Any other new business to come before this committee?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you, sir, and prayers for Mr. Brown there for sure, and all those that are sick, as you mentioned. I got a couple items, but the one thing I wanted to ask the mayor, since we're still kind of just coming out of COVID in terms of talking about it, Mayor, is in Chairman Isbell, you may be able to answer this too, but from what I saw last, it looked like the state of Tennessee is starting to not be one of the hot states for COVID. We're going down some. Is that what, did I see that right?
Yes. And I don't have that in front of me, Commissioner Wandell.
That's okay. I just wanted the folks to know that whatever everyone's doing, whether they're wearing masks or just social distancing or washing hands, the state of Tennessee, it's getting better. And, you know, I'm not here to debate whether people should or shouldn't wear a mask. I know there's certain people that can't, and I respect that, whether they got heart conditions or whatever. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is we're going in the right direction, and I just hope we can continue to social distance, wear masks if you can, and just everybody's doing a good job in that regard. The other thing I wanted to ask, Mr. Chairman, I had a couple items. You've already answered the COVID stuff. I just wanted to ask if I could get Ben's Mobile Home Park. We're having some issues still. We've had 5 trailers burn in the last 2 months. We've got some other issues. TDEC and the mayor and zoning have been helpful. Jay Yeager, and I appreciate, but we need to figure out, and I need somebody's help. I don't know if we put this over to the zoning committee or some other committee, but I'd like to get some help from my colleagues and the mayor and Jay and figure out what we can do to make Ben's Mobile Home Park up to code, safer. There's been issues for years, and I just want to really try to help the folks there and, you know, try to get those issues resolved. And so I don't know if I need to make a motion to put it on next month's agenda, Mr. Chairman, or if we put it in another committee, maybe my colleagues can advise me on where that should go to start being looked at within the commission.
Yeah, I think we'll just definitely take it up under operations. And during the meantime, I think that Commissioner Val and the mayor have been working with maybe trying to get some help for the zoning and talking with Danny Phillips about that too. We definitely need some help there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd certainly support it, and I appreciate the mayor's help on it, and also our law director. I know they've been working on it, and plus zoning. It's not an issue that's not being addressed. It's just hard to get everything together, and maybe what you just said is the answer. Maybe we need to figure out how we can fund someone to help us so we can kind of put something together there and fix that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make a motion just to put it on next month's operations. I'd like to add Ben's Mobile Home Park zoning concerns to next month's operations committee.
All right, we'll put it on there. We don't have to vote for that. We'll
Okay.
just go ahead and put it on.
Okay, thank you. I guess old business, I was just going to ask, and maybe the mayor has an update, or even Robert McCamey does. Have we finished the purchase for the new East Wolf Valley Convenience Center location? I've had a lot of excitement, people asking questions.
We have the survey. They sent that over to the phase 1 environmental folks to get that done. I think Jay has a few items that he's requesting some language change that came out of that memo. So we've got to tweak that, but everything is still moving forward. Once we have the environmental review is the final step. So once we get that contract in their hands, we'll be ready to go.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also just want to reiterate, because I get this question asked a lot when the subject comes up. Yes, there will be recycling at this location if we acquire the property, and I've let them know that the solid waste department, Jeff Trabaka, and the mayor definitely want to have a state-of-the-art recycling program there. So thanks again. I'll stand by and look for it. And great meeting tonight, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate all the dialogue and the debate and discussion. Very well done. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anything else to come before this committee? Commissioner McCamey?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, so be it. Thank you very much. Be safe. Social distance. Thank you.
Thank you.